Hello, hello. This is parte dos, part two of um, American versus Latino, white culture versus Latino culture, European American versus Latin American culture. And this is part two. So, dating differences with white Americans first, European Americans first, and then I'm putting Latino. So usually you leave the home at 18, um, or they're expected to leave the home at 18. And Latino cultures, a lot of the times you stay home until you're married, and sometimes you even bring the wife into your family home. So there's more of a family unit compared to um, gringuitos, whites. It's more like they're individual units. A family, each family is an individual unit, and they work individually on their own. Um, I'm not saying everyone is like this. I'm just saying in general, these are like the big differences that I've seen growing up, first generation, Los Angeles, Latina, Mexican, American. My dad's side of the family is Mexican. The mom's side of my family is Salvadorian. And I grew up in LA as an American. So I definitely understand and I see both sides. Personally, I left at 18. I did not stay at my house, which I could also say the key difference is the way women are treated in Latinos and the way men are treated is differently too. A lot of the time, we women try to leave the home earlier because obviously we're not going to be allowed to bring like our boyfriends over or things like that. We would have to find our own place, or we usually move out with the boyfriend or a husband at a really early age to find some sort of freedom in comparison to being at home, because a Latino home is a lot like an Indian home, I've noticed. In the Indian culture, people are very like, where are you going? Who are you going with? What time will you be back? Be back at 11 or midnight. You know, they're very strict because we're very family based and conservative. So let's go back to whites. White, it's more like European Americans were married. They're much married later in life, whereas Latinos are usually married a lot younger and have kids a lot younger. But obviously, all these are changing recently. A lot of Latinos my age and younger are not really looking forward to having children, and they're not really trying to have kids. So, this is just in general. So, white people usually have kids much later in life, whereas Latinos usually have children a lot younger. And I mean, I've seen as young as like 12 years old. Like I've met people who've had children as little as 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 in Latino culture compared to white. And then whites, European Americans prioritize work over family, whereas Latinos, even though we're hardworking and work is important, work does not prioritize family. In general, work doesn't prioritize family. Like, we really prioritize family more. Um, a lot of times I've noticed Americans let others take care of their kids, like they take them to daycare or they'll hire a nanny, or, you know, if they have the resources, they'd rather have someone take care of their kids that's a stranger. Whereas in Latino family households, family members care for the children. Oftentimes, a grandma will, an auntie will. It's never like really a stranger. Only on, you know, obviously some people do leave their kids at daycare do have nannies and things like that to take care of their kids, but this is just like in general. Family fun differences, you know, cookout vibes, carne asada. Birthday parties are about the kids. Birthday parties, everybody parties in Latino parties. Americans, the party starts and ends at a certain time, whereas Latinos, they'll be partying all night for a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old, drinking, partying, dancing, celebrating, letting loose. With American whites, it's usually playing games with the kids, you know, all these little cute games that they find. Whereas Latino parties, it's like, here's a jumper, here's the music, go have fun. We're gonna go drink. I'll see you guys later. So the difference between gringuitos, which is a term of endearment, gringuitos, white Americans, European Americans, they actively seek therapy a lot of the times when it comes to the women. Whereas in Latino culture, therapy is shamed. It just means like, oh, what's wrong with you? We really have a low tolerance, low capability, it feels like sometimes, to communicate things that need to be communicated and talked through. Blame usually gets to be passed around. Nobody likes to take a lot of accountability. It's very hard for Latinos to say I'm sorry and things like that. With gringuitos, they usually like talk it out or let things go. And Latinos, you know, where even though therapy is shamed, not accepted, they do not let anything go and will hold on to grudges forever. So I have family members who don't talk to each other because they got mad about something, or there was a misunderstanding, or they were just not patient with each other, and they're still like not talking. And it's been like 5, 7, 8 years. A lot of the times I've noticed that gringuitos don't speak up for themselves, specifically like the women. They don't speak up for themselves, or they just take the blame a lot for stuff. Whereas in Latinos, we're very prideful, and you're taught that you need to speak up for yourself. You need to defend yourself. You need to prove the other person wrong if they're trying to unjustifiably throw something on you. And of course, there's always like people who take it too far in both cultures, and you know, don't get along very well. But so here's the reason I'm writing all this out. It's like I've noticed that a lot of people are blending, right? They're blending white culture with Latino culture, and they're blending together. And when you blend two different cultures, there has to be an understanding that you're going to be uncomfortable, and you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Like, again, you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable, because in Latino culture, we're very much still incorporated with our Spanish a lot of the times. So if you don't understand Spanish, you need to get to learning Spanish, or you need to get to at least being okay with Spanish being talked around you, because a lot of the times our elders over 50, I'm 32, so over 50, sometimes over 40, they still don't speak English. So they're not gonna try to speak English around you, or if they do, it's gonna be really hard to understand them. Another good point that I was talking to somebody else right now about, a Latino man, he was saying that just like family dynamics aren't really understood, you know, like the importance of like your mom and that in your life is so important to us. For example, myself, like when I date a Latino man, I know that I have to respect his mom and give her as much attention as I can when I'm at her house, help her out, put away the dishes, offer to wash the dishes, offer to clean the table, offer to help. You know, the way through a Latino man's heart a lot of the time is through his mother. Because what we don't want is us not to get along, because when that happens, it's like a nightmare. So a lot of the times we try to get along with the mom. I would suggest you as a white woman to try to get along with his mom, or you as a white man to try to get along with her dad, you know, as much as possible. Because if you're not getting through to the parents, like, that's half the battle right there. Holidays are different, and the way things are celebrated. So it's like easier. One thing that a friend of mine was saying, it's easier for us Latinos to incorporate into American than American into us, because a lot of us already know English and we know Spanish, so it's easier for us to integrate into your, you know, cultura, into your space, than it is for you to integrate into our space, especially if you don't try and you don't care to try to learn Spanish, or you're just gonna be lost in the sauce, you know. So the reason I'm making this video also is like a warning, like a warning. It's like, there's a lot of great things. There's a lot of great pluses to dating Latinos and being involved in a Latino family. We're super helpful. We help with the kids. We're really family oriented. We're really integrating. We're accepting. We'll allow you in. We'll let you feel like a part of the family, right? But at the same time, we expect you to be understanding and helpful in the family. Like, for us, it's all about uplifting one another and not just putting all the weight on somebody. Yeah, so for example, if you're trying to speak Spanish, we will help you out and we will teach you how to speak Spanish. But if you don't try to speak Spanish at all, and you just expect us to do all the work, you're already like creating a rough little start. And then, in comparison, English speakers, they're not really like not as forgiving. You know, when I go to Mexico, my Spanish isn't great. It's really not. But when I go to Mexico and I try, at least, they'll be like, oh, okay, at least she's trying, you know. I've heard it's the same in like France. Like, when you go to France, at least you're trying to speak French. But whereas English speakers, depending on who you end up with, like, they're not really helpful. And I think that goes to show that it's not really a warm welcome. So yeah, if you're thinking about dating a Latino or dating a Latina, just keep these little differences in mind, and always ask about the family dynamic, because you don't want to end up in the wrong place. So make sure to respect the family dynamic, and if you want to give it a try, be comfortable with the idea of being uncomfortable, because our culture, our cultura is a lot different than yours. So my name is Aileen, and if you guys like this content, please subscribe and like this video. I appreciate you. Por la familia, gracias, and I'll see you next time.